The media said what? Ha, 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 ha.
Dig on America.
You are fake news.
Last call. Last call. Last call. Last call.
Hey, everybody. It is Lourin Hubbard, your host for Last Call, and joined with me this week again is my co-host, Brent. Brent, what's going on?
Not much. Well, no, everything is going on. It's been a week of no kids around because they're out of town with the in-laws, and so it's just been all politics all the time. And Thursday we had prime time January 6th hearings, and so it's to everybody else it's a whole lot of nothing, but man, it takes up a lot of time.
Yes, and that's why this week's episode is brought to you by Scotch. Because Thursday's here, and I'm sure we'll get into a little bit about it on the show, was just more evidence of the lack of leadership, the purposeful lack of leadership that came from the White House on January 6th. But before we get into all that, the politics talk, I thought it'd be interesting to kind of keep it light. Brent, I know you're married. I've been married happily for the last almost 10 years.
Yep.
And I was scrolling through the news this week, and I found out that there was a poll that was done by YouGov about how happiest couples handle like fights and chores and break up household chores and things like that, and how they stay connected through this. So I wanted to ask you and your wife, how do you guys divvy up the chores at home?
Ooh, that's I don't know if there's really a divvy up. There's I admittedly do less of them than she does. That's for sure. And now I'm getting a glare from the other room. Thanks for the heads up on this question.
Well, it's just interesting because
I do as asked. I guess is the best way to say that. And I don't have a good answer for that. I do as asked.
I was surprised to find out that is in the top 3 reasons why couples fight was household chores. The first one being overwhelmingly tone of voice or attitude. I think to myself about what? I'm married. My wife is half Cuban and half Irish. So the temper side, there's no temper side. It's both hot-headedness on both sides. So that's her. I've had to realize that is just her form of communication, is yelling at me, and not that I've done anything like wrong or anything like that. That's just her communication style. But yeah, I'm surprised.
I'm loud. That's for sure. I am a loud, energetic type A that people misunderstand at times. And we have 2 children that are very much like Dad, and then we have Braden, who's our sensitive soul. And you raise your voice, and then he's literally hiding under the dining room table, it's very, very much a contrast compared to myself and the 2 girls. The 2 girls communicate by screaming incessantly.
Nice. I get into that because, actually towards the bottom, and one of the surprising things to me that was on the bottom of the list was politics and religion, which are 2 of those like taboo topics that you're actually not supposed to talk about in mixed company. But those are 2 of the things that couples don't argue over. And I was kind of thinking about that my wife and I, when we first started dating, those were our arguments when we first started dating, were over those two topics. And I think as we've kind of grown as a couple and grown together, that they are more discussions, not necessarily arguments. But that simple things like my wife does not do dishes. She will literally clean everything else, the entire house, but will not touch a dish. And I think that's my job. I cook, I do the dishes, I take out the trash. And it's like really funny to talk about other husbands. What they're like, usually take out the trash is a quote unquote husband duty.
And I do a lot of that. I do, but no, the religion and politics thing, I have a different take on it. And that's, married couples don't fight over it because you're either not married or you get divorced over it. Like, you don't remain married if you're going to sit and fight about religion and I mean, if you're truly oil and water on those things, then you're oil and water on so many others. And I know there are people that it's James Carville, and I cannot remember his wife's name, but she's a Republican strategist, he's a Democrat strategist, but they're from the traditional and kind of how do we twist and how do we versus the polarizing politics of today and the polarizing of Christo-fascist nationalism that's come out in religion today. And I was raised Catholic, got all the way up to confirmation and said, yeah, this isn't for me. My wife was raised Adventist, but is by no means, since we've been together and for years before, she wasn't actively going to church and everything else. And she's more of a believer than I am. But at the same time, I know I wouldn't mix well with somebody that was hyper evangelical. So I don't know how I would have ended up married to that person unless it was 24 hours in Vegas.
Which
I mean,
can happen.
That could lead to an argument that would then, be at the bottom of the list because.
Vegas is a popular wedding destination. Ben Affleck
and J-Lo just tied the knot.
J-Lo, just got together again. So we were supposed to have Natalie James on the show, and there was a couple of things that I wanted to talk to Natalie about. She is the Democrat. Oh, I think she's popping in.
And
wow,
we've got Natalie in the green room.
What a setup. So I did want to talk to Natalie about running as a Democrat in Arkansas because, some unique things about Natalie running. Not only is she a Democrat in Arkansas, but she's running as a Black woman in Arkansas. And so that's like one of the things that I have got to talk to this lady about. And now joining us on the show here today is Natalie. Natalie, welcome to the show.
Hey. Oh, let me fix this. There we go. All right, there we go. Hey, everybody. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm hanging in. I'm feeling good. I got the Johnny Walker in my cup. And so I'm feeling fine and feeling fancy.
I almost had it. I was like, I'm gonna be good this time. I'm gonna be good.
No. This is acceptable on this show.
Okay, this is after hours. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's why we call it last call.
Last call,
because it's a relaxing kickback. Because these topics, I'm not gonna lie to you. What we're gonna talk to you about today are some of the topics that I get the most frustrated and upset about.
I know.
So I mean, I just let's just kind of jump right in here. So you're running as the Democratic nominee for Senate in Arkansas. Kind of tell us a little bit about I know the first thing that comes to people's mind is why Arkansas? I know it's the land of Bill Clinton, but when's the last time a Democrat won statewide in Arkansas? And let alone what is the black population in Arkansas even like?
Well, the black population is like most states around here. Right now, actually, it's close to almost 30% here in Arkansas, which is huge because in other states, it's not that big. Well, I'm over exaggerating. I'll say 28%. So 28, between 20 and 28. Let me not exaggerate. Not supposed to use definite hard numbers, but Arkansas is one of those unique states where it's always been a progressive state. They were the ones who set the trend, and people kind of forgot that and forgot their history. Arkansas had the first woman to be elected to the United States Senate. Unheard of. And I'm talking about 50 something years ago when women were still fighting for their rights the same way we're doing right now. We were able to go ahead and elect the first woman to the United States Senate. And we did it again with Blanche Lincoln, the second woman to the United States Senate. Now, that's pretty historic right there. And she was one of the last Democrats after Bill Clinton that was in the statewide office. Then after that, everybody got complacent. And here we are, lackadaisy. And unfortunately, we have, as I affectionately call them, the four horsemen that are running us in our congressional offices. And then we have our two senators with their horrible toxic bromance, and they're continuing to pass on their toxicity and their bad decisions and indiscretions onto the citizens of Arkansas. But Arkansas is a great, great, great state. It's my home state. We are the Diamond State. We have some amazing things here. We're one state that if everybody else fell off, we'd be okay. We're the number one in agriculture when it comes to cotton and when it comes to corn. Excuse me, when it comes to rice, number one exporter. So we have some pretty great things on here. Yeah, Arkansas.
I did not know that.
Then you have to see our rivers and our mountains. Then you get down and you have our farmland and our row crop. Then you have all the beautiful steel industries and everything else going all up down the Arkansas River. And then it's just the Delta area. We are a fertile ground, a fertile crescent. So it's beautiful here.
Nice. So I wanted to talk a little bit about who you're running against in Arkansas.
Mhm.
What can you tell us? Is it John Boozman? Is it Boozman? Boozman? Is that?
I like Boozman. I think it's Boozman. We had to,
I'm a Boozman myself right now. Tell us a little bit about it. He's an incumbent Democrat or a Republican. Why? What are you kind of attacking him on? What's your contrast to his message?
Well,
if he even has a message, it's probably something like
He doesn't have a message. But do the Republicans really have a message? Period. Well, let me not say Republicans. Well, do the extremists have a message? No. Their main message that we keep getting is we're going to take everybody's right, and the only people that are going to have rights are businesses, corporations. But I don't have to attack John Boozman. He does it himself. That's the beauty part about him. He's quiet for one, so he doesn't stand up. He's not on the fence. He's one of those that stands on the wall and he just watches as everything happens by, and whoever tells him and says, "Hey, I got a stack of cash. I need you to do this." He does it. There's nothing to really attack him on, but it's the stone cold truth, and it's just facts. So all we can do is go over his voting record, which every time it has something to do with Arkansas, bettering Arkansas, or bettering Americans, he votes against it. And I'm not a betting woman. I did go to the casino once, and I did win some money down here in Palm Bluff. I had a big, nice little jackpot, won about 4 G's. I was like, woo woo.
Wow.
To do it again, I would have took that 4 G's and I would have doubled down that John Boozman was going to always bet against Arkansas. That's how confident I am that he just doesn't care about us. We're flyover country. He doesn't care about our kids. He doesn't care about our future. All he cares about is a post office being named after him. Then he forgot to vote to fund it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know he's kind of holding on for his political life there in his Republican primary. I think he raised $5 million and spent $5 million at the last filing period I saw. How's that going for you? What is your kind of like message to the voters of Arkansas that I think that there's a lot of people out there that are wanting to vote for someone who shares their dreams. I ran into the situation that it's like, we love you, but you're running as a Democrat, so we can't vote for you. Has that kind of been your experience, or what is that like for you in Arkansas?
Unfortunately, it's different because we are setting the tone. We're setting the trend here in Arkansas. This is a first. 157 years, a former Confederate state never had a black woman run for office, let alone the highest seat, the top of the ticket office at that. Then the next trend, I'm the youngest. Once elected, I'll be the youngest female senator in the United States Senate. Now that's something big right there by itself, not even just the fact that I'm the first black woman to be able to do it and the first 38-year-old to be able to do it. But Arkansas, I'm seeing that it's different here doing politics because we're getting into it from in our community, in our culture. We don't talk about politics. We don't talk about, it's kind of like that song, we don't talk about Bruno. That's kind of how it is majority with our
I guess we're watching that right now as we speak.
yeah. Okay. That's how it kind of is with our community. So we don't talk about the importance of supporting a candidate, how you support a candidate, if and when, and understanding the issues and to vote on the issues and not on party lines. It's been drilled from the other side to vote on party lines, but guess what? Kids don't care if they are in a red county, if they're in a blue county. All they know is I don't have any food, I don't feel safe, I'm not happy. What are you going to do to make my parents happy so I can have a better life? And if you're not doing that, they don't care. I walk up and say, "Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm a Democrat." They're like, "Okay, do you have some food for me? Okay, or do you have a job for my parents? Okay, do we have gas and do we have lights on?" That's what they care about, and that's what you have to get over with most of the voters here. So I'm seeing that we're having a bigger shift from Republicans. Moderate Republicans are saying, "Hey, I can't get behind what the extremists are doing. I don't follow that ideology, especially when it comes to removing rights." Then you say, okay, well, you can't have an abortion because we have an automatic trigger ban here in Arkansas. But then you come back around and say, all four, like I said, the four horsemen voted against contraceptives. How do you vote against the preventative measures to keep you from having an abortion, but then say you can't have an abortion? Well, that doesn't make any sense. How are you going to help people? You're not helping people. You're just helping them, and you don't raise up the living wages. We don't have living wages in Arkansas. We have surviving wages, and I've lived off of $10 an hour, and it's not pretty. Robbing Peter to pay Paul. My child was still on vouchers. I was working class poor. I could barely pay rent, and I could barely pay my car note. Don't even think about having food. We still had WIC. I was on WIC, okay, with my kid while working at Alltel, making $10 an hour. $10 an hour at that time I thought was a lot of money. No. Now our minimum wage is what? $12.50, $13 an hour. That's still nothing. We need to have sustainable wages, thriving wages. And that's along the lines of baby steps up to $15 an hour to $20 an hour, to making sure that people can have the living wages that they need, so that they can have access to the health care that they need, so that they can have, their children can have access to the education that they need. And when you take care of those three things, you take care of everybody, and it helps lower crime, poverty. And Arkansas is number one in teenage pregnancy. We're like number 4, in between 4 and 10 of the highest crime rate in the United States per capita. And why is that? Because we keep pulling from the actual people and never putting in resources and putting in access and availability for everybody. And we're seeing that these are the repercussions, but you guys keep voting for it. Arkansas is ready for change. They're ready for something different and somebody to believe in them and know what we can do and believe in the possibilities of what could be, because we haven't had that opportunity. They always say, no, and you're bad because you did this, but it is my fault that I did it. I know that I have you guys living in this experiment called Robert's Cave, where I'm going to have you guys pitted against each other, but I'm the one controlling the strings, and then I'm going to penalize you when you do exactly what I want you to do, when you don't react the way that you're supposed to. And so that we can put you into our private prisons and make profit off of you. And we're going to continue to have the hot number one in gun manufacturers. We have 9 gun manufacturers, but we have the highest crime rate. Make it make sense. And number one in prisons. That doesn't make any sense. You're creating your own cycle. So I want us to step out of it. I want us to not be in it anymore. And it takes somebody with a common sense approach that's never turned a blind eye to any of the issues. Never had that luxury. I'm a Black woman in the South. I've been told many horrible things. So this campaign, what we're doing now, I have the thick skin to be able to protect our future and protect our state and protect our nation. Because once elected, I think I'll be the 3rd or 4th Black woman in the United States Senate. And it's time. We need common sense, and we need mothers with no nonsense.
I'm telling you. Real quick before I continue on, we have our listeners that are shoot it in comments, and they will either shoot it in support of what you're saying, or sometimes they'll shoot in with a question. It's my vision to have the show be as interactive folks as possible, because these are the people, really, and we're going to get into it a little bit, is that when you're running against a machine, especially in a Republican heavy state like Arkansas, it's it takes people power. And this is kind of a topic that's close to Brent's heart, is fundraising, and kind of when we have this conversation about like raising funds, and Brent is very
how
much,
annoying it is.
I need to take notes from you guys. Both y'all are great.
well, it's just like the unilateral disarmament that we have on the left, because we don't want to take corporate money, because we don't want to be beholden to it. And Brent is of the mind that
most on the left.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Brent's of the mind that I'll take your money. It doesn't mean I'm going to do what you want me to do.
Yeah, but I will take.
No,
yes. You flash money in front of me for my race, I am grabbing it and gonna keep on howling down the road.
Exactly. Or packs and good
So,
conscience.
so one question: what PACs will you take from In Good Conscience?
Any pack that's for the people. If it's a pack for the corporations, no, I'm not taking it. But like Brent said, if Walmart came in and said, Natalie, here, we're going to give you $5,000 for our pack, and we want you to do this, I'm like, well, you can't do but you know what I'm saying. Read between the lines. I'm going to do what's in the best light of the people, best for education, and best for us. Don't forget it for day one. I'm not new to this politics. I'm not new to these games. I'm true to this. My family's been doing this for decades. My family's been in education for 170 years. And it's important that we have real people and just honest conversations, that if you come in and you say you want to donate to the campaign, that money's going right back to the people anyway. It's going in literature. It's going in resources. It's going to get information out and drag people to the polls. I'm coming knocking on doors. I'm coming to go sit on your porch. And that's where that money is going back to. So if you want to donate to make sure that I'm reaching people, great. I might need to get like NASCAR and get one of those little NASCAR jackets and put little lapels. This brochure was brought to
but at the same point, so if Walmart came to you and said, we're going to give you $5,000 or $10,000, and you were well aware that they were giving every other candidate 5 or 10,000, whatever that number was, what's the benefit in turning it down?
How's that benefiting the state and benefiting the people if I'm not able to reach them? That's what I think people. Yeah, you're exactly right, Brent. How people have to understand that in order to run a campaign, an effective campaign, we have to have funds. And if the people aren't able to donate it, that money has to come somewhere so that we can continue to reach you, and so that we can outwork this machine that's been put in place. They got a war chest, and we're just normal, everyday people living our everyday lives trying to go up against a machine that we're trying to break down, because big money in politics is horrible. It's made it to where average people can't be in it and their voices aren't heard, and we're constantly on the menu. We're sitting here, we try to get to the table, they make the table bigger. And then when I say bigger, I'm talking about taller, so we can't reach it. And we're all just doing this, trying to grab whatever scraps that we can, enough. So if I got the opportunity to fix it to where all of us are taken care of, you better believe I'm gonna take care of my family. And that means all we, the people, Arkansans, Americans, working class, the people that are making the real decisions and the sacrifices to continue to move our nation forward, not the corporations who are sitting here peeling off our backs and peeling off of our kids and peeling off of our future. So if they're wanting to go ahead and invest and do it the right way and clear their conscience, thank you. Do it. Finally do something good for America.
Yeah. Is Arkansas the base of operations for Walmart?
Yes, I brought them up.
Oh, you picked it.
Number one, so back in the day, it's changed hands. So back in the day, they were a pillar in education, and removing education, public funded education, and having charter schools. Well, that alleviated people like me, single mothers. If I'm working 8 to 5, how am I supposed to get my children to school and pick them up at 2:30 and I don't get off until 5 o'clock? Where are my children supposed to go? And I have to pay an additional fee for after school care, and I can barely afford gas. I can barely afford food. No. So now the younger generation from Walmart, they've gotten in, they say, we have to fix this damage. So that's why I said, if Walmart came in and said, hey, I'll donate to you, the younger Waltons, Yes, because I know you're actually investing in Arkansas, you're investing in America, and you're trying to fix and repair the damage that you've done. And so we have to look at who the corporation, who the pack is, who's running it, and the people behind it. Because this whole money and politics thing, it's a hot foobar mess. And it's ridiculous. It's turned all of this upside down where nobody has a voice that really matters. And we're supposed to have the voice. Our people, our constituents, our neighbors, our friends, our teachers, our lawyers, our trash men, our burger workers, our everybody is supposed to have the voice, not the corporations.
Yeah, admittedly, I mean, I don't have a problem with Walmart as much as my wife absolutely hates Walmart. She is a loyal Tarjay fan, and every
Yeah,
time
yes.
she
Tell
goes, we have to go to Walmart. It's like
I won't go in there. I'm not even gonna lie. I think I've been in there maybe 5 times and maybe
I
5 years.
just
I don't go in there, and they have the best candy. I'm not gonna lie. For the parades, I
I
had
was
to go
gonna
there. They got the big bags for candy, especially when I'm in the smaller towns. It's like, well, crap. All I have is Walmart. Darn, let me go ahead and buy. So I'll go in there and buy all the candy and make sure I say hi to everybody and talk to everybody. But I'm
I
not gonna.
think like our Walmart here has some of the best meat as far as like choice cuts and chicken and steak, and I it's better than our grocery store. I just have to say,
I
I
wish Kroger's
I
is
go there.
so far pretty
We don't
darn.
have Kroger in California.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We're
Oh
on
yeah,
March
Publix
Main.
and stuff.
Oh, I would love to have a Publix because
No.
so long story short, I moved to Florida in 2010 to do the Disney College program. So I went from California to Orlando and fell in love with Publix because I didn't bring my car, and it was like one of the routes on the bus stop, and so I
Mhm.
fell in love with that chicken tender sub. Oh, Publix and Wawa's were like my go-to.
Mm. And Trader Joe's
Uh,
and Macy's. I miss that being in Texas, but when we go visit, hmm
we have Trader Joe's, and we've actually done a lot of shopping at Trader Joe's lately. But so a little bit about yourself and your background. I know that you were the child of a school teacher and
hmm
and a pastor. And how does that kind of shape your outlook right now? Because I feel like I always feel like it's almost like a prerequisite. I think for Black people running for office is we have some kind of faith component that
uh-huh.
drives us to kind of get into the public space to serve like that. How's that influenced your life and your decision to run for office?
Well, that's a warning to let you know that I do not fit in the normal confines and I do not ask for permission. I ask for forgiveness. But
Hey,
also, I was raised AME. So I was born and raised in the AME church where we have young people's department. The young people department, I was like, why are we doing this? Why are we learning Robert's Rules of Order? Why do I have to run for office? Why do I need to do this? I am 7. Can I go outside and play? You guys have choir rehearsal. Leave me alone. No, they instill in us in a very early age how politics actually works. And we don't realize it. It's to us, it's just like, okay, whatever. We get to do this and you can leave us alone. Cool, we'll do it. So we did that. And now I'm seeing it come back full force when I got on land commission. I was like, uh-oh, I can create some havoc here. This is a big opportunity. We had somebody who wanted to put in a garden, a community garden, to have sustainability and alleviate a food desert in the neighborhood. Well, we have donated land. I'm like, heck yeah, let's do it. Well, I need this other director. I need this piece of paper, and we're going to come back and revisit it in a month or 2 months later. I was like, well, Mr. Growing Period, do you know anything about germination? I know that you got to take a little bit of time to plant a seed, and if we wait 2 months, it's going to be the end of the growing season. So why would we do that and have a community go without for 2 more months, and we can be teaching our children where we already have crime and poverty high, having a sense of self in the community, a sense of stability, and how to grow food and take care of themselves as well. She was like, well, I've already made the decision. This is what we're going to do. So I said back. Thank you, Anthony. I said, okay, 5 minutes before. I'm calling a special meeting on Friday at 12 p.m. and I need a second motion. They were like, well, I seconded it before she could even object to say anything. I was like, ha, 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 ha. You're going to provide all the paperwork that we need for by Friday. You can do that. You're pretty savvy. I looked at your paper, your PowerPoint. Get this done. Get this into us by Friday at noon when we have this meeting, and we're going to rule on and we're going to make sure that we go ahead and get it presented because the following week was a week for the city directors to meet, and that's when I needed it to go forward so we could get it pushed through. So I went ahead and got it pushed through, and I learned that sneaky tactic just from growing up AME and growing up being a teacher's kid, because teacher's kids, oh my God, we look for loopholes. And then being a preacher's kid, how to get out of trouble and stay out of trouble.
Oh yeah.
And that's what America needs. Just somebody who's going to look between the fine lines at how to better protect all of us, better protect our interests, and make sure that somebody's looking out for us instead of them having their corporate lawyers look and read between the loopholes and sit here and do stuff to us.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I kind of a great segue into what happened here in California this week. That's again going to get into one of those topics that I got all the time running for office. And so we had the case of this Robert Adams, who's a 23-year-old kid, 23-year-old black kid. The police just released the body cam footage of his shooting. He was shot in the back, running away from police. They arrived in an unmarked car, got out of their car, did not announce themselves as police, just started pointing guns at this kid, and he ran, and then they shot him. And you know, that story kind of segues into the kind of the gotcha question that all black candidates get is this: what is your take on policing and the quote unquote defund the police movement? And so I kind of wanted to get you how you answer that question, especially being from Arkansas. You know, how do you answer that question?
Well, I was one of those who testified and asked for to explain about different ways we can have removed qualified immunity. And they're like, remove qualified immunity? We need those protections. No, we don't, because you have too many bad actors that want to get out here and act like they're in the Wild Wild West and act like little thugs. And those bad actors are emulating a gang mentality and gang behavior. The same gangs that they try to break up, they're sitting here emulating that, and they protect each other no matter what. One bad actor can spoil the whole bunch, and that's what we call them here. So we need to make way for good actors. But the only way to do that is to reallocate funds. We don't want to defund them. We want more training. We want you to make sure you have the right funds in the proper places. We want you to have cultural sensitivity, diversity, and inclusion. We want you to not have qualified immunity, because I want you to think first before you shoot, before you just get out like you little Annie Oakley, sitting here saying cow cow to us. Our children were sleeping in our beds. We're driving down our cars. A lady got shot, I think it was in New York, and got her arm grazed because a cop just got out and he was just shooting willy-nilly. They shoot each other. They shoot each other because they don't have proper training. And if my cosmetologist, my anesthetician has to have training for 18 months to 2 years in order to do my hair that grows back, it grows back. You need to have at least 2 to 6 years of training like in other countries around the world. So no, we don't need to defund them. We need to reallocate and make sure that they have a multiple purposes what they're doing with those funds. They don't need tanks because they're not a military. We have one of the best, finest militaries that spends $768 billion a year. They don't need any help on the ground force. Their job is to protect the people and serve the people. And they get it conflated with laws and with corporations. And it's time to make sure they understand the difference. So I feel if we can remove qualified immunity, and I testified to this, and I tipped some legislators off. They were upset. We remove it, and you have it like when you're on a KPI system. So if you're at work, you come in late, you lose one of your win backs, and you have 12 of them. So you have 12 of those. Well, every time you lose one, that means that every time you're late, you can lose your job. Same thing with them. Every time they lose one, that means that they need to start paying a part of their insurance. When it gets all the way down to where they're paying all of their bonded insurance to be a police officer, because they do have insurance, they have their own errors and omissions like we do as realtors and professional fees and everything else. They lose their bonds, they lose their insurance, they're no longer able to work anywhere else, and they can't go hop over to the next city after they accidentally harm another citizen or anything else. So they don't like the removal of qualified immunity, but they want to bring themselves up and say, well, we're like the military. No, the military, when you have a weapon, they don't allow you to have it on base and it's locked up until you're supervised, heavily supervised, and extra proficient with that weapon. And even the generals don't get to have their weapons on it. You guys can walk around off duty, on duty, whenever you want to, and have that feeling of superiority and power. And this isn't about having power. This is about doing what's best for everybody else. And there are other nations that suffice just great without having guns, because that whole good guy with a gun theory was proven wrong multiple times, especially with Uvalde. That showed us that these guys had the same type, the M16s, the AR-15s, the same type of weapon capability, and they stood there and they smiled. So don't give me that. If they had the proper training to be able to utilize those weapons, those children could have been saved. So I think that police officers should have more training. They should not be on the ground alone at all for the first 3 years. And they need to have some more inclusivity training, diversity training, and they need to learn how to police the communities that they're in. And if they don't live in that community, they need to be immersed in that community a lot longer and not just let out there to sit there and do Terry stops and stop and frisk and all that other stuff, looking for reasons and probable cause. They need to be a deterrent from people wanting to do harm. They need to be out there shaking hands and doing a community, like a community-centric approach, like we do when we're out here campaigning. You need to get to know your people before you can tell them what to do. I don't have that respect automatically. You earn that respect. And right now, our cops don't earn that respect because they just incite fear. And fear doesn't do anything for people, because after a while, you get numb to it and people just look at you like you've lost your mind. And that's what's happening with our police force and happening with our Supreme Court. They just look and say, well, you know what? You're going to do what you want to do, so we might as well do what we want to do too.
Well, it's like whenever one of those videos of an officer in uniform stops and is playing basketball with kids and it goes mega viral. Mm-hmm. Why does it go mega viral? Because that's not the norm, and people are like, oh, see, and this and that. And it's like you're saying, like if they were doing more community outreach, the fact that the officer had a good interaction with those kids shouldn't be a viral moment. It shouldn't.
Yep, you're right.
But it is, because of where we are and how things stand. And I'm with you. I'm not a defund the police. I think we need to reallocate. I think we need to increase funding. I think we need to increase funding for training, increase funding for salaries. I think people need to, get rid of qualified immunity. I'm kind of okay, and haven't super studied it, but okay with police having a stand your ground. I don't like just a general citizen stand your ground law in the middle of their street. But I understand an officer that can stand his ground, and that's not qualified immunity. That's a scenario where they can, but otherwise, yeah, we need to increase funding, but we need to reallocate the increase in funding, and it's going to be a lot more training. I mean, it takes a lawyer 4 years of undergraduate, 2 years of law school, then they have to pass the bar, then they have to go clerk for people, and everything else in order to argue the law, whether they're on the side of the state or the side of the defendant. But 6 months of training on an officer, they're the ones who are going to enforce the law. It definitely needs to be looked at, and needs expanded training is number one, and expanded resources. That's what I think. I'll never use the coined phrase. I just we need to reform how policing is done. And we can.
It's not even
very easily.
It's criminal reformation. That means on all aspects as to how it even happens, and it needs to be even more careful after what happened with the Supreme Court when they introduced the Miranda rights being removed. It's not saying that all of it is being removed, but partial of it is being removed. Exoneration rights being removed. Now that's a big one. So pretty much once you charge me, I am guilty until proven innocent, and I don't have the opportunity to prove myself innocent if my lawyer bundles it and bungles it up really bad. So right now, I think that we need to look at making sure that we're doing the best thing that we can for ourselves and make sure everybody's thoroughly trained. If you're going to be out here and you're making split second decisions about somebody's life, it needs to be in somebody who's capable, not scared, for one, because that's the biggest thing that we hear all the time, that they're scared and why they reacted like that and they just jumped out willy-nilly and they didn't assess the situation. If a mom can assess the situation and tell you who's at fault, who's not at fault within
Yeah.
5 seconds, a military person can look at a person and say, okay, well, you might have a bomb, but I can't sit here and, just boom, 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 boom to you. They need to be able to do the same thing and they need to be held responsible. But back to what you're saying about stand your ground, don't come to Arkansas because we have that. I testified against that and passed it. And right now, it's
that
Wild Wild West.
seemed
If
like-
we give you a threat, that's it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get to the
That's why
stand your
I'm
ground
running
thing.
in Arkansas.
Why don't I just stay strapped, pick a fight, and I can shoot somebody? And
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
I go through my head. But so this week's politics panel, we'll start with one of the things that I think is probably the most consequential thing in this country today. Elections matter. Elections have consequences. Yes, and we know we're gearing up for this midterm election in November. But beyond that, the scope of government that is not beholden to directly to elections is the Supreme Court. And we're in the situation where we have this. Was the Supreme Court's pick was stolen from Obama. 2 were ramrodded in by Trump. So he has 3 picks. Trump got 3 picks. We have a majority of this court that was put in place by presidents that lost the popular vote. They're coming up with these rulings that, change precedent. They're after stating under oath, these cases that we just tore down are precedent. So a lot of people are wanting to say, hey, these people lied under oath. Let's prosecute them. What is your take on the Supreme Court now, and what is the solution to this kind of dysfunctional court that we have now?
Well, we don't even have to say that they lied under court. We just have to, when they were put in office, we just have to say that they were acting in bad behavior. And last time I checked, saying that this law we're not going to touch. It's fine how it is. It is the law of the land. All right, great. And then you come back and you overturn it. Then you say that you're not going to touch it, but you do it anyway. That's acting in bad behavior, and you've totally crushed the trust that we had in the Supreme Court that it was the final say so. Right now, we have a partisan Supreme Court that's not acting co-equally with any of the 3 branches of government. This is definitely not what the founding fathers wanted, and really want us running for office either. But, and especially not me. But but they did have an idea that they wanted to have separation between church and state. James Madison was one of them that was extremely vehemently loud as to how much he did not detested having the Supreme, having any type of church interact or mix with the government, because that's what they were running from, religious persecution. And people forget that. And I'm like, you want to enforce religion?
Thomas Jefferson's letter to the Danbury Baptists. Yeah.
I'm like, you guys ran from that. So why would you want to continue to do that and get mad and say somebody's persecuting you because we don't want to follow your religious beliefs? No, we have the freedom of religion. That's in the First Amendment. You want to talk about the 2nd, the 9th, the 14th? No, let's go back to talk to the 5 rights that are in the First Amendment. You're abridging and you're infringing upon my right to not be forced to have any religion, or to choose what religion is that I want to sit here and do. That's the beauty of America. It's a melting pot. It's a beautiful smorgasbord salad of wonderful individual pieces that come together and make this harmonious, delicious, crispy, crunchy, yummy salad. All right, now you're taking out all that individual parts and you're just leaving us with a bunch of iceberg soggy lettuce. And I don't like that. And I don't think anybody else wants that. So I think that the Supreme Court, what we can do and what we should have done, and we should keep up with every time that our district courts are expanded. So when we've expanded the Supreme Court 4 times, and if we go back to history, every time we expand the Supreme Court is to match what the district courts we have here nationally. Well, we had 9, so now we have 9 Supreme Court justices. Great. Well, we have 13. It's time to catch up, because right now the whole religious aspect being intersected into our law of the land, into the Constitution. When the Constitution says no, the first thing written says no, and you do it anyway. It's time to reevaluate that. It's time to actually hold people accountable.
Okay, Natalie. So, seeing this comment pack the court, the Republicans sure will. What
they already did.
What do you say about using the term pack the court? And what do you say about the path that would feel legitimate of expanding the Supreme Court? Or do you just say pack it? Let's just put 35, liberal justices up there and ram every like what is your thought on that? I know you just said you want to go to 13, but do you want to go to 13 tomorrow, 4 appointed by Biden? Do you think there should be any process in play to where elections, come into it, to where there's a sense of normalcy to it?
Now, my opinion might not be the best opinion, and I do not think we should have 35.
Yeah. Oh, we're all about controversy on this show. Go ahead.
But I do think that right now, if we're doing something that we haven't done on the trail and on the tail end of it, we might as well keep with that trajectory. And I think it would be amazing to have the opportunity, because people are being more well-versed in politics, what's going on in their lives. A lot of people to pick. Let them throw in their hat in the ring. I mean, if we're going to go in the route of reality TV, we just had a reality star TV star as a president. If we're going to keep going in the route of that, and people want to continue to be entertained, and you want
the president, by the way, he was the best. Probably, people are saying of all presidents, he was probably, I think, the best.
The best at being the worst. Yes, he was the best at being the worst. But I think that we should expand our court. I think that I think it should, and I have the feeling that Biden listens to everybody else, and he does what is in the best for everybody else, whether it's what we agree or what we like or what we want. And sometimes we all don't agree with the decisions that he makes, but we can agree that he does make the best decision to include everybody. So it's a more inclusive decision and not a reactive decision like we've seen in the last. So I don't think we should pack the court reactively. I think we should sit here and actually look at this, because I'm not going to be alive when majority of this stuff is happening. You're not going to be alive, and the people making these decisions, this is affecting our kids, and we need to make sure that they're included in these decisions and how it's going to directly affect their future. So I think I just pivoted around that question really well.
Point blank, you're in the Senate.
Yeah.
Do you cast that vote to end the filibuster to expand the court?
Oh wait, I don't have it with me. Yeah. Duh.
Hit the yes button.
That's why I'm looking for my yes button. Like, how many times? How many times? Oh my God! I'm like,
okay, wait. So you cast your vote to expand the court, and then in 2 years it flips the other way, and they want to expand the court. How do you defend voting against it?
God help that everybody remains politically active, because we're seeing what happens when you get politically complacent. When you're politically complacent, they're going to say you're silent and you're enjoying what they're doing. Right now, everybody should be enraged. And I'm talking about enraged for the next few decades. That's how much atrocious things that have happened. So in the next 2 years, I don't think that they're going to flip everything back. Hopefully we're going to fix this.
I agree.
And keep it where it's, but I'm
pragmatic about it. I want to bring our government back to a place where it's understandable in a civics book, and it's predictable, and that elections have repercussions, but that this whole like spring-loaded yo-yo of politics of we're going to bounce here, then we're going to bounce there, then that is not good for the health of our country, for the health of our people. It's adding to the polarization, and that's where I push. I'm like,
The
I
lack
think that there needs to be a thing that says a bill passed that says we're going to expand to an equal number of district courts whenever the district court number is an odd number. So that if they go to 14 district courts, we don't add one. When they go to 15, whoever the president is adds 2, but we could literally put in there to say if that expansion happens within 365 days of a presidential election, that will, where we could set some sort of ground rule, because I don't want our government to just start being where, oh, well, we now have this little and then we're going to do, because it's terrible. And I'm grieving from the things that have gone through the Supreme Court recently. But at the same time, I don't want to be reactionary and create a larger divide. That, the Republicans played chess for 49 years.
I'm not gonna say play chess. I'm not saying they're not that smart. They just
they were velociraptors at the fence, checking for weaknesses, whatever you want to say. Yeah. But they kept going on their one thing. They're now the dog that caught the bus bumper, and to say, oh, now we're just like we need to, as a group, I believe, say this is tragic. We need to elect leaders that will codify these protections, and we need to fix the problem, but we don't need to react to it today and say, and tomorrow we have a Supreme Court majority and we're going to fast track a lawsuit.
What's the solution?
Well,
writing legislation, have legislators in there to write legislation to do exactly that. And we haven't had that in 20 years. They've gotten lackadaisy and they pass certain things through. And then when it goes back to the state, so like you're saying, if we are dependent upon if the district courts expand or whatnot, that's a state issue. So that means that people need to be inclusive in what happens in the state matters in your house, in your state senate and everything else, and make sure you have the right people in place that are going to speak your will, because that's the closest that you have to your voice being heard in your government is in your state house of representatives, state house of senate. That's who makes those decisions. And if we don't have the right people in place, we are seeing what happens when we don't have the right people in place.
I think it kind of puts a lot of onus on people to pay attention to things like that when they are worried about like where my next meal is coming from. I am on WIC. I am on food stamps. I have this and that. I'm trying to make ends meet. I really don't have the capacity, and that like part of it is on purpose to keep you busy, just surviving, so you don't have the capacity to do that. But also just like what one of the comments in here was about, the time it's a little too late. But if you think like sitting here thinking, well, we can't do this because Republicans, they might one day get the majority, and they're already going to do that. We saw Mitch McConnell literally for a whole year say we can't support.
You didn't do the whole
the president's election is going to wait, but people need to vote, and then but 3 weeks before an election we can pass it. Then this is exactly what they're going to do. And it's almost like I always feel like the little kid on the playground. Was it the George W. Bush? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Fool me, can't get fooled again. So, that's where I'm at. Is like,
I don't think we're playing nice. That's what I think that people aren't seeing. They're not understanding that when your hands tied, it's difficult to do that. And why and how our hands got tied is because, again, like you said, we don't have voter apathy. Arkansas has 22% voter turnout. We're not a red state. We're an undervoting state. So you don't know if we're red or blue because not enough people come out. We need 50% to come out to determine that. But we don't have people to be able to focus because that's by design. They put their foot on your neck and all you can focus on is, I'm going to keep paying you $10 an hour, sweetie. Ha, ha, ha. You can't pay attention to what I'm doing over here. They're moving these pieces. See this hand? It disappeared. Yeah. And I'm over here doing this. Pay attention to that. That's
That's
what
a
they're
very
doing.
good evil voice.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. But no, we're not playing nice. We just haven't had the right people in there to be able to do it in the right amount of people. So everybody wants to bring up Obama had the Senate majority. No, he didn't. 50-50 is not a Senate majority like we have right now. 50-50 is no majority. That's equal. That's a tie. Obama did not have the Senate majority long enough to codify or get anything done because he had, who did he have down there? Mitch the what? Yes, ditch the minute in there, sitting here blocking everything that could have been done and we could have had because
The
that.
bitch is what she was trying to
Exactly.
say.
So when we sit here and say we need to have a super majority, like, well, we got a majority. No, we have to have quorum. And that goes back to me growing up AME, growing up YPB. Understand in any meeting that you have, boardroom or any type of where you have to have proper decorum, you have to have quorum. That means 2/3 of the votes, majority. And in the Senate, that is 60 people. Until we have 60 legislators that can agree on something, oh my God, agree on anything, it's going to be difficult to push anything through. And that's why we're fighting so hard. And you're seeing normal people step up because we know how important those 60 seats are. It's not 52, it's not 54, it's not 58. It is 60 seats or more. It's what we should be going after. Every available Senate seat, we need them. Every available House Senate seat, we need them. Every available House of Representatives seats, we need it. Every congressional seat, we need 2/3 of the vote in order to pass effective legislation. And when you have a party that's pro the people and not pro the power, that's when you're going to see effective change. And we've had that power struggle dynamic for about 40 years where you're seeing, like Brent said, that 50-year thing with what's her name, Phyllis Schlafly, who came in and decided that this is what it is. Abortion is wrong, and I don't want my rights as a housewife. ERA is horrible to be taken up, and I don't want my girls to be in the draft. No, stop letting them control the talking points and call it out for what it is. Yes, call it out for what it is. I don't think that we're nice because we're not. Because if we were nice, this wouldn't have happened. Period. We've been allowing it to go on for a really long time, and we just are trying to figure out how is the best way to strategically move us out safely and quickly because we've empowered and beholden, and we've had a lot of extremists, hate groups, nationalist groups intertwined in every faction of what's going on controlling our nation now. So it's not just the issue.
That's a great segue into one of the other things I wanted to get your guys' opinion on was Marjorie Taylor Greene said at the Turning Point USA Summit that
I don't
the
listen
GOP
to anything she said, so this is news to me.
It's lower my
Yeah, I just can't.
The GOP should just conform and just mold themselves to be the Christian Nationalist Party.
I have a better question because the answer there is just no.
Did you not read the Constitution? Exactly what we tell our kids. And we have a no. My 9-year-old has a no song. She'll tell you. She'll hear it. I'm like, no. Marjorie, no.
Yeah.
I was going to go back to Destiny's Child. No.
Politics Girl has a whole great rant about when she taught her child like that kid and that kid and then her child sent it back to her in a restaurant. Like, yeah, no, Marjorie, just no. I'm going to ask you.
Already got Lauren Boebert out here talking about. I'm so sick of the separation of church and state.
Yeah, well, they're nuts. They're nuts. Okay.
They're nuts, but they are, when you talk to actual people, this is the wild part about it. So we know New York, right? We see New York. We're going to have Melanie on. She's running for Congress in New York. New York City is like, this liberal bastion. But if you go to the rural parts of New York State, I did not think that I would ever see New York, the North. You got people with Confederate flags talking about, I hate that Obama. Dude, you're from New York. Why are you talking like this? Yeah. I hate Obama. Because this is New York.
They're transplants. They don't.
I hope so. But
I'm just saying, brainwashed by the idiots that are like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay, I want to.
She has a high opinion.
She doesn't have a high opinion. She has a loud opinion.
Yeah. She has 3 toes, okay?
Conservatives listen to her opinions. which is not to say much because I watched a video the other day of somebody literally after like one of these January 6th hearings asking them about Bill Barr, and this lady said, Bill Barr, I don't trust anything he says. He's a never Trumper. And he was like, "What? Oh, are you sure?" Because he said, even though all this happened, he would vote for Trump again. But you're saying he's a never Trump? Yeah, he was a never Trump. And it's just you just move the goalposts on these people. So that's
Okay.
I'm just saying, her opinion has a lot of weight in the conservative.
And so does, unfortunately,
community.
Tom Cotton's here in Arkansas. Like right now, they are getting ready to bring up the addressing the gay rights, and yeah, they're like, I don't know where we're gonna vote on it. Well, seeing how you have a +A rating with the what's it called, the pro-life, and your +A rating with the NRA, and your +A rating super conservative Christian, we know exactly how you're going to vote against yourself and vote against our kids.
I like that's Sarah Huckabee Sanders thing. God bless her. Somebody Botox quick. The eyebrow thing is like,
I don't know what, I got a better eyebrow than she does. See, mine's better. It's the real mom eyebrow. Hers is not a mom eyebrow. It's I'm gonna stop before I say
I mean, I've talked to Chris Jones about Arkansas before, and that whole thing, and that brother is just, he's, man, there's another person that grew up in the church with pastor parents, and but so okay, segue to this then, Brent. Both New York Post and the Wall Street Journal have came out with their weekend publication saying, slamming Trump, saying after this last Jan 6 hearing that he is unworthy of ever holding office again. Those conservative publications, do you think that is going to mean anything going forward to if there are any moderate Republicans that are on the fence?
Fake news. That's all they're going to say.
DeSantis, because he's articulate and he's ruthless. They're going to push him.
Yeah, but they're going to lose the Trump fringe. There's.
I think
let's stop going to 24. Let's stay on 2022.
Thank you. Because
I want to ask this question.
Sure.
Been trying for the last 10 minutes. $174,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Is that too much for a senator or a congressional U.S. House member to make? Or is it the right amount? Should they get paid more? What and why?
Okay.
Because everyone wants to say pay him minimum wage. Is $174,000 a year.
Okay, let me put it like this. I think that where the pay rate is fine for our senators and fine for our congressional members. But I think the issue where the pay rate is for our staffers that do the work, the actual people. They need more than $25,000 to $30,000 a year. They need at least $45,000 to $50,000 a year. They need to be paid like our teachers because they're the ones helping push and continue to grow this nation forward, and they're not being paid enough. 174 after taxes and everything else. If you're paying your taxes like you're supposed to be doing, then that's about normal for the amount of work that you're doing, because that's still not even enough to unfortunately buy a place to live in Washington or anything else, as much as you're up there traveling back and forth. I don't think that going up is going to benefit anybody. I need it to stay the same, but I do think we should have term limits, and I think we should increase the pay for our actual staffers and congressional staffers. That's where the pay increase needs to happen if we do any pay increase.
But that's out of the senator or congressional members' discretionary $1.7 million a year budget. They can pay the staffers more if they choose.
They can, but most of them do what? They don't.
I know.
Marjorie Taylor Greenes and Lourin Bovarts that don't see the need to.
I know. They pay family members to run their in-district offices, and I got that question all the time. Like, well, you should make minimum. What do you think? Would you be running for this position if it paid your state's minimum wage?
Yeah, I would still be running for it because this is where the big decisions happen. And right now, the only way to stop this.
How would you make your ends meet?
I would be crying. I would be crying still
really,
working my job. I would be still working my job.
I'm probably
my
one of those
my
people
thing
that
of bringing it up is just that it's the progressive side and it's the liberal side
Mhm.
that wants to pound this narrative. And I keep trying to tell people, if we make that the rule, then
How it
all you get is rich people that can afford to do it for no cost because they're getting their money on the backside of what their legislation is. The idea that you have to live one place, have a secondary dwelling in another place, one of the highest cost of living places on earth or in this country, and travel back and forth between that and do that job. And it's after taxes, and it's like, it's, I'm not saying it's underpaid. I'm just saying you're not getting rich
Yeah.
if you're just taking
Doing
the
that.
salary and you're not doing side deals and side hustles. If you're doing the job, you can pay your bills.
Yeah.
And yes, you can afford a family vacation each year.
Mhm.
And that everybody, I wish, could do.
Mhm.
I just wanted to hear your perspective on it.
I
you
don't
know.
think it should be increased, but you're exactly right, and I don't
see.
think
I'm
it's reflective for the amount of work that person is doing, because we want them to be able to focus on that solely. Call me a selfish constituent. I want my legislators to focus on me and my needs, and they can't do that if they're having to work 2 and 3 jobs to be able to do what they need to do. No, I'm selfish. I want you all to myself. Focus on me, and my needs and what's going on in my state, in my America, that's going to directly affect me. Now, you can have some term limits. That I do agree, because Mitch McConnell's been there as long as I've been alive. That's too long.
yeah, Chuck Grassley, Diane Fine. Even like the dip in this question, I think you need to have some kind of like higher salary to attract talent to any position, right? It's
Yep.
But like, the thing that I would want to do is just, if you have any connection whatsoever to any industry, you don't get to trade stocks and bonds and stuff like that. And I'm just thinking this is a problem, an image problem. We talk about progressives and left. This is with Democrats, amongst Democrats, is that you have people like Susie Lee, who is a Democrat in Nevada, who was, when the whole PPP thing was going on, was advocating for including like her husband's business into getting PPP loans. And they, got millions of dollars. And did they pay those millions of dollars to the employees of her husband's business? No,
Well,
they
see,
didn't.
that goes back to that. When we start getting on those lines, then they're like, oh, well, if this benefits you, you shouldn't do it. So you have those that are like, oh, if you have student loans, you shouldn't be advocating for student loans. Well, if you want healthcare for your children, you shouldn't be advocating. If you want healthcare for everybody, or you
No,
want
but
wages for everybody, you shouldn't be advocating it. So it kind of gets in that.
if she, like you directly advocating for something that was not originally in a bill that you knew was going to like personally benefit and enrich someone as close to you as your husband,
that's the gray area
that's
where
so much.
that's the
And
gray
then you
area.
trade, and then you buy stocks like the day or the week before.
Martha Stewart, and don't get in trouble like Martha Stewart.
Yeah, I was thinking, or Loeffler in Georgia, with her thing, and
I think
really
Purdue did it
real
as
quick.
well.
Oh yeah, and David Perdue.
I think both
Georgia.
of them from Georgia did it.
Yeah, it's just a
But she
little
was
much.
already doing it anyway, because she was already a high-paid millionaire, so she didn't care about that salary or what was going on or anything else. What she wanted to do was already taken care of. She wasn't in it to actually help people. She was in it to push her businesses forward.
Yeah, that's where I got the problem. The personal enrichment.
Yeah.
I can make $174,000 a year. I actually am like looking at positions now that make just as much money that aren't elected, and so that's
And don't require a second residence.
It's a lot
So
of
yeah,
things.
they don't require a second residence.
So like people don't even realize, even like me, I getting into politics, I didn't even realize all these different types of opportunity that were available in it. So like when you go on Game Power and everything else, you see other jobs that are like $200,000-$300,000, and you're like consultant jobs and everything else. So you're right. I don't think getting into politics should be about the money, and I don't think it is for majority of us. Majority of us really get into politics because we really want to help and make a change and be the difference for our future. So for me, and for a majority of the people that I do actually know, that money, that's nothing compared to what a realtor makes, and we make
Yeah.
figures. So I'm like, that's nothing
You
new.
know, people on the left and progressives ourselves, when we do get in it is to make a difference. And I don't know if your experience has been the same, either Brent or Natalie, but my friends are not donors. So with like me running for office, I did not even get the concept of like talking to wealthy people and the way that they think of like they want to be talked out of their money because that's fun for them, and just having that conversation with people that have money to do that is just kind of like
The
altogether wild to me.
It's like financial
But like,
financial domdom or financial something. What, it's crazy.
yeah,
didn't-
I thought
Don't
I
you
thought
like
I was a big donor giving Bernie Sanders $100 a month. I thought I was like, hey Bernie,
too.
good.
Me
Yeah,
too.
that's it. I got put on the list because I gave Obama in his second term. I gave Obama $500, and I got put on this list. And so, like every now and again, I get, can you give us 1,000 here and there? I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. First of all,
When I'm
you're
calling.
not Obama, so no.
Wait a second. Wait a second. You don't.
I just that was my mentality. I was at Obama's second term. I was like 25, 26.
Yeah.
I gave him $500 out the gate as like this is for the whole thing, because I was really, this is the statement, I was really afraid of Mitt Romney and the whole Bain Capital talk, and now I would give Mitt I would give Mitt Romney like $10.
No, I wouldn't. I don't want to be on that email list. I'm on a.
Well, I mean, I don't
email
think they're
list.
from the $10 donors on the email list, but Mitt Romney versus Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm gonna Mitt Romney's got my
Okay,
my
so Natalie
support.
James versus John Boozman or Tom Cotton.
Okay, that's true, Natalie, for sure.
Yeah.
Real quick before we wrap up, I'll do my last question, and Brent's got a last question here. So I was reading the newspaper yesterday or Friday. This monkeypox situation. Public officials are debating on whether or not they're going to call a national medical emergency for the monkeypox situation after COVID, or I will say after COVID, because we're still dealing with COVID.
We're in COVID now.
Yeah. What are the public policy options that are available and that you would like to see adopted? And is there really? I think people are kind of like, meh, when it comes to COVID. It's like, yeah, when monkeypox, I've never even heard of monkeypox.
Well, when you have that, don't do what they're supposed to. You have nasty little diseases that are created from nasty little cesspools and just being nasty. So if we washed our hands like our hands do a lot of times, a lot of that stuff would be alleviated. Just the simple, wash your hands. But I think that that wonderful playbook that we had, that pandemic playbook, like eradicated Ebola really quickly when we did have 1 or 2 cases. Instead of it being flushed down the toilet and clogging the White House drains, it should have been implemented more. And I'm hoping that the Biden administration will implement it a heck of a lot sooner than later, instead of just watching and waiting, because I can't deal with anything else more. I'm tired. We're going to have another epidemic inside of a pandemic. I don't know how to deal with this. I'm already like, don't touch this. Don't do that. Do I send my kids to school? Because unfortunately in America, the number one way for children to die is by being gunned down in school and gun violence. So it's like, whew, this is a lot, America. We got to do better. We got to pick and choose. I mean, we're in a pandemic. We got monkeypox. Can we go ahead and get a full ban on assault rifles and things like that to try to alleviate some of this stress so that we can think clearly, so we can actually make better decisions? Because when you're stressed financially and physically and emotionally, like we are right now, and everybody's on thin, we make horrible decisions, and that's going to spread monkeypox even more because nobody's thinking clearly to just wash their hands, or they have the means to wash their hands. So all of this stuff is exasperated because of the poor politics that we've had, and it's always been a fight back and forth, like tug of war, and it shouldn't be. Politics is supposed to be what's best for the American people, to grow us, not hinder us, not keep us stagnant, but grow us, and that hasn't happened. So hopefully the American people wake up, get out and vote, because if we don't, this is the last opportunity. We're going to have some horrible things happen, and it's going to get far worse. And you think monkeypox is going to be the last of it? People aren't making the right wages. We're going to see worse things. We're going to have the pig flu or whatever it was, and bird flu and swine flu and everything else coming back in now. What other animals are there? Bovine. We're going to have the tiger flu and all that other mess. This is ridiculous. And we can fix this if we do what we're supposed to, and make sure we have people that address the issues and stop faking on the science. Because last time I checked, that heat wave we're all experiencing is because we didn't have the right legislators in there and the right Supreme Court justices to even address the EPA issues. When you have heat rising, you have different germs and crap that are melting from the polar caps and everything else. We're going to see a lot more diseases, and it's going to get worse. I hate to sound like that, but it's not going to get any better. If we fix home.
When I first heard about monkeypox, I admittedly thought two things. And since this is an adult program, I could say both. One, that you like turned into a monkey, which is just ridiculous. And that's where I have a brain of a 10-year-old. So that's, The second was that somebody had to do something, interaction with a monkey, to get it. And I was like, who is out here hanging out with monkeys? So,
yes. And it's not even just that where it comes from. Remember, we got stuff coming.
It was like that. What's that old Dave Chappelle series?
Chicken pox. Nobody did anything with a chicken, so you had chicken pox in fourth grade.
Yeah.
When I was 10, I thought you did. Like a chicken. Like Wait, I'm from Bakersfield, and we got like my grandmother had chickens and a rooster, and she was like really into roosters. And this like rooster's name was Cocky, was the name of this rooster. And when I was like 6, Cocky got out of his pen and he scratched my ass, and I thought, oh my God, this is how I get chicken pox. I'm going to die. And it was like, I still have the scar on my arm from Cocky. But so, Brent, you're dealing with a 10-year-old here. I'll let Brent question for Natalie.
That's not how monkeypox works. But hopefully we have the right people in place. Again, why we need women and mothers in place, because I come out with a nice little pamphlet.
Well,
you get monkeypox.
This is how they said. This is how they said. Like you got, other diseases was like somebody like had sex with a monkey. Isn't that how the start of like AIDS or something?
Okay, so we're gonna get back. You're gonna make me dwell into.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, let's just.
You're about to go into.
I'm just saying.
Let's put down all pox.
Nobody did anything like Christopher Columbus. That's way out the thing. Okay, there's not horses, it's not llamas, not none of that stuff. That's not how it happened. Okay? All right.
I don't know. I got the swine flu once. Now I'm a pig man.
No,
I got emu flu, and now I have Liberty Mutual for my car insurance.
That's fantastic.
No. Okay, I'm gonna ask two fairly short questions as my final, because Lourin asked most of the questions.
Mm-hmm.
How important has Twitter been to your run? I know that I've spent hours on Twitter Spaces with you. Lourin's been in some. He's been on some that I haven't, but that I know you've been active on Twitter. How important do you view Twitter as a tool in your run for office?
Telling that I love you. Oh my God. But no, Twitter and social media is changing politics to where I don't have to have big money. I can actually have a real conversation with real people across the nation, across the world. And that's just not even just Twitter alone, but Twitter Spaces. Huh. I can't wait. It's changing the game as to politics and bringing it more to home and more reality, because people need to know who's running for office and who that person actually is. Not just this person they see on TV all the time, not just this paid ad that says, "Hi, I'm the best person for the job." They need to know, are you really the best person for the job? Can you articulate your point? Can you have a conversation? And I think Twitter Spaces is doing that, and it's connecting us to be able to be more powerful to make sure our voices are heard, because this is awesome. This is amazing to think that I would have been talking to candidates running all across the world, all across the United States, and we get to share what's going on, our grievances, because and the wonderful wins as well. That is amazing and powerful, and I think it's going to change the way that we do politics and take it away from these rich old people and move it to us normal people so we have a better chance.
Okay, here's my last question, and it's mean. What is your pet peeve question you get asked, and what's the answer to it?
I don't really have a pet peeve question. And I don't really
have one that you just roll your eyes at, like, again, this is...
Mine is, how much money did you raise last quarter? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, well, that didn't really bother me.
Will you tell me what your fundraising is at since last quarter? Will you tell me what it was yesterday?
I don't know.
None of those questions drive you nuts?
No, because I usually turn it into a fundraising question. It takes a lot. Again, I have a 9-year-old. I have kids. Okay.
Well, I've got an 11, a 7, and a 3, and the 3-year-old is a mutinous little thing that, well, you know, absolutely. But still, I wasn't able to turn those questions. There were some questions that like got repeatedly asked. That you're like, I've answered this how many times, and it's the most basic thing.
It's because
I'm glad for you. I'm happy for you that you don't have one of those.
I look at them because it's an opportunity, because they haven't had a chance. So they're asking this because sometimes they genuinely want to know, like, what made you want to run for office? Well, obviously because there's nobody else that look like me. But hey, I mean, we need some change. Aren't you ready for some change? Are you tired of doing the same thing and expecting different results? I think I am. So I didn't have anybody to do it, so we did it. So it's not really a question that really gets on my nerves. I think the one thing that gets on my nerves is the assumptions. The questions are good. I can take that. It's the assumptions, the automatic assumptions. So they automatically assume because I'm a young woman or because I'm a Black woman that I don't know, or this is not what I'm doing. That's what irks my nerves, those blanket assumptions.
Okay, can you give us your 3 minutes? 3 minutes, Natalie. 3.
Yeah, no help.
Okay, 3 minutes, but you have to include where people find you,
okay,
where people donate to you, and go.
All right. I'm Natalie James. I'm running for the United States Senate here in Arkansas. I'm the first Black woman to run for the United States Senate in a former Confederate state. I'm doing this for you, for me, for our future, for red, for blue counties, our children that are needing the best for their future. And we are running on education, healthcare, and for living wages for you and all of us so that we can make better decisions and so we can have a better life and so that we can just have the best of the things that we're supposed to of the American dream. I need your help. I need your time. I need your volunteer. I need your talents. And yes, of course, I need your dollars, dineros, rubies, whatever it is that you want to give. We need it so that we can get out here and continue to have the literature and the information to get to people, reach to people, and explain to people and educate people on what we can do and how we can be better. Because if you don't know, God help us all. Right now, we need everybody to know. We need everybody active, and we need everybody involved. So I'm asking you to get involved. I'm asking you to bring 22 people to the polls. We did it before. We can't say this is a red state and that extremists are going to take us over because we have a blue president, 71 million votes. We can do this again, but we can't do it if we don't get up and show up and be there for us and be there for our future. Be the voice for those who can't and don't have a voice. And you can reach me on Twitter, of course, at jamesforarkansas.com. You can reach me on TikTok. James for Arkansas. You can reach me at jamesforarkansas.com, and you can reach me on most other fun social media platforms as well. But most importantly, find a candidate you like, support, give your time and your funds too, and make sure you use this and call people and say, hey, donate to this campaign because I like them. And that helps us out tremendously because we need more people in office like you and me in order to do this. We can't keep having the same people in office. And that's it. That's me.
Excellent.
I need people.
That is perfect.
Excellent.
Thanks.
You know, this is maybe just me now that I'm like post-election and I'm just wild. Every time I hear somebody give their wrap up or why, I always what runs through my head is the Mentos commercial. Is
Your life.
I really want somebody to do an ad doing that music. Nothing gets to you. Stay in fresh, stay cool. Like doing call time and for our lives. You know, that's what I think about. I don't know why. Mentos fresh for our lives.
Yeah,
That's what I want.
That's just our age because that's how we. I don't know. That's how we talk. We are commercials and TV shows.
Right.
Oh my gosh! So it's difficult.
You should totally, and I won't take a fee for this, but you should totally do like a 90s, like on your TikTok, like just a 90s video of you like waking up at night to the like old school music, R&B.
Oh my God! So
Chill.
90s night, and we did the whole. I didn't do the Cyndi Lauper's 90. We did the TLC. Chris Cross.
Yeah.
Make you want to jump, that type of 90s. So I had my little overalls on.
Oh, nice.
And my Biggie shirt and my little neon and all that stuff. And of course, we did the liner back then when I was in junior high. So,
hey,
but I'm thinking something like that would be fun to pay homage because when I'm talking to people, they come up. Yeah.
Yes, I know for sure.
See?
Tell me, baby, can you stand the rain?
I played last night too. Yeah, that would be fun. Like a 22-second video or a 90.
Hey, if you feel old, I don't feel old. That's my jam. I don't feel old. I feel like great.
We are young. Okay. I'm not something that we're young.
See,
old is
of like when you would wake up. Well, I don't know if I should get into that. Brent might want to run for office in the future.
Yeah. We have 90 seconds left.
I think all of us.
I don't know if I want to get into this. I'm from the era. Well, you know what? Actually,
he knows my plans and I know his plans, but the internet doesn't know any of the plans.
Okay, well, I like that. Well, we'll keep it that way. We'll keep it that way.
We'll say maybe.
Whatever you decide to do. Can you see that, Mom eyebrow? Whatever you decide to do.
Okay, maybe. I will say this: like when you're running, and you like are the nominee for these things, it's stuff. It is a tremendous amount of like power just being a nominee. And so I have been approached for other things, other ways to get involved. Like I'm an ex officio now for a couple of our county central committees. And my whole thing is changing how these like Democratic committees on the local level work, because ours that we have here, I'm probably going to get a little gruff for this, but it is kind of seen as more of a like social club for other Democrats to come around, meet, give business cards to each other, and like, hang out. Stuff. It is. I want it to be an apparatus for getting people elected. I want them to be recruiting candidates. Hey, we have this position. This guy's running for state assembly as a Republican, and he's running unopposed. There should be no office in our county, in our state.
Better than most states. Just having that mix and mingle apparatus, because we didn't even have that opportunity. So us, Tennessee, Mississippi, other southern states, the DPA structure is just not there. So you are very blessed to have that structure to be able to help push you forward instead of building it from the ground up. But this is what we do. So we take it and we make two pennies rub together and we make magic. So that's what we've been doing off this.
Let's keep helping Natalie build her.
Dude, frustrated atheist is killing me. It's just cracking me.
Yeah, my knees and my elbows pop.
Yeah, mine.
I'm telling you.
So,
I can't get up. I do the sit down thing where it's like, or you got to put your hands on your knees to just get up from your seat now. That's what I
hear my knees go snap.
There's a wonderful, it's this year on TikTok. There's a wonderful, I'll just kind of end with this. That'll be the last thing I say. There's a wonderful dude. I forget what his name is on TikTok, but he does a whole bunch of these videos that are like, you knew you had black parents if, or, you are the black parent, or you have black friends that do this at the cookout. And one of the videos was like, you had black parents if, and I now know that everything on the list that he's talked about, I do. When I tell my kids, like, why are you drinking all the juice? You need to drink some water.
That juice. Don't be drinking up the juice.
Close the door. I try to air condition, letting all my cool air out.
I say it too. It's too hot right now.
You got some McDonald's money?
Yes.
I find myself saying that. And then my thing is, like, my daughter is an quote unquote brand ambassador on Instagram. So when I ask her if she has McDonald's money, she says yes.
I know.
Yeah, my almost 6-year-old daughter is a brand ambassador and is making money.
That's what my 9-year-old did. She said, "Mom, I have grandparents." Duh. I was like, I forget. You got multiple checking accounts. Okay, honey. Get whatever you want.
Well, I have people that love me.
I know. I'm just like, wow, rude. Burn.
I know. And my grandma, God bless her, before she died, she got my daughter a shirt that said, "When mom and dad say no, call 1-800-GRANDMA." I was like, where the heck did you get this?
Now, Grandma calls in and checks in. You want anything, baby? I just want to make sure you're okay. She didn't tell me anymore. She called
my grandma would have told me no. And now, she just
sends her home with cookies and cakes. I'm like, why do we have this? Because she needs it. No, she doesn't. I'm gonna give her whatever she wants. Lord help us. Yeah.
I don't. All right. Well, we don't want to keep you too much longer. Thank you, Natalie, for coming on the show and hanging with us. I had a fantastic time. I hope you did too. You can find us on Twitch and on YouTube, and we're streaming
for Twitch too.
All kinds of other places now. And I hope you get
Twitter
on
every week.
Yeah, and I hope you get on because we do read the comments. I do enjoy the comments. Some of the comments I'm going to give the fan of the week award to Frustrated Atheist because he was cracking me up with some of the stuff. And it's not just because I finished my scotch and moved on to my Greyhound. That's not why. Join us every Sunday, 5:30, streaming live with Last Call with Lourin and Brent. Have a good night.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you.